want him to be.
I see. And we're very delighted to have in the studio with us James Greening Valenzuela. James, I've been reading your bio.
Yeah.
Now you accompanied your student, we'll get to him in a minute,
I
on
did.
piano, but your bio speaks quite a bit about your violin playing.
I'm a violinist in my real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you played all over the world, and you have a Grammy nomination in 2012, I think it was.
2002.
2002, the Bach violin sonatas.
Yeah. Right, the solo sonatas.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. A nomination is pretty terrific.
Oh, thank you.
For a Grammy. And so you're also a teacher, and you have a student with you. Now this young man's name is?
I'm Ken for short.
Ken for short.
Yeah, please call me that.
I'll just call you Ken.
Great.
Okay.
He's Kenneth Zhang.
Kenneth. And where are you from, Ken?
I'm from San Francisco.
Uh-huh. And you performed last night at Carnegie Hall in the Wild Recital Hall, right? And your teacher, James, accompanied you on the piano.
Yeah.
What piece did you play?
Zungerweisen by Sarasate.
Uh-huh. And I think I heard that. It was quite something.
Thank
It
you.
was very good. So your teacher, he's your violin teacher, but he accompanied you on the piano. What is that like?
Well, if you have a teacher accompanying you, you obviously get better chemistry than if it was someone else. And it was, I mean, I trust him. He doesn't mess up that much.
Well, thank you so much.
Which is fortunate since I mess up whenever my accompanist mess up. I have a tendency to do that.
And how long have you been studying with James?
I've been studying with him for like 4 years.
5.
Oh,
5
5
years.
It's scary, huh?
Long time.
And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 13. I'm about to be 14 in 7 days.
I see. Well, a happy almost birthday.
Thank you.
So you've been studying for 5 years, but you're only 13. So you started when you, my math is right, when you were around 8 or 9.
Yeah, around that.
Had you already been playing the violin before you started
I
studying?
played for like a year before I came to him. I wasn't that good, but I mastered the basics, I guess. I knew how to hold a violin. Yeah.
I see.
He played a mean heart and soul at his
Yeah.
first lesson.
I see. So if I, without embarrassing him, he came quite a ways in 4 or 5 years.
He has.
How do you tell, James, when you have a student whether they have a real gift? What tells you that?
That's an interesting question. I think probably there's just some sort of a connection to music that seems unusual for someone young. I mean, some kids, you know, start violin and they don't necessarily seem to have an affinity for it, but somehow, somewhere along the line, they blossom. But other ones, like Kenneth, you know, kind of come in and just you can tell there's a connection to the violin and to the music right away, even if they're at a more beginning stage.
And clearly, to reach the level that you're at now, Ken, there was some development that happened fairly rapidly, and that's very unusual too. But so there's a talent there, but talent doesn't mean anything unless you work at it, right?
Of course, I'm always under that impression. Talent can only get you so far.
So how many hours a day do you practice, typically?
I want to lie.
To tell the truth or lie?
I would say around an hour a day.
I see, yeah, great. And what are your, so you're, what grade are you in? You're in the 8th grade?
I'm in 8th grade.
I see. And what are your, do you think you love music enough now or know enough about music to think that maybe you'll make a career out of it, or you're just having fun and you'll see where it goes?
I think that I'm still young. I'm considering my options. Obviously, I could go down that route, but we'll see. There's so many circumstances that could change, so I'm not sure for now.
Do you play in an orchestra at school?
I used to. I used to play in a couple youth orchestras in my area, but I never really liked those because everyone just sounds the same. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between a soloist and an orchestra player.
Right.
And a soloist, in my opinion, would be something special, something that's on a stage that's all by himself. Meanwhile, an orchestra, you're surrounded by everyone, and your goal isn't to stick out. So
That's
that
right.
never really appealed to me.
Yeah.
I'd like to jump in with something if you don't mind, and I'm going to tell on you a little bit. But you know, he mentioned that San Francisco is, you know, the hometown. It's actually, we're in the Bay Area, but Kenneth goes to school at the Army Navy Military Academy in San Diego, which is quite a long ways from San Francisco. And so every weekend, Kenneth flies up on a Friday from San Diego to Oakland by himself, takes a lesson. We have a lesson on Saturday, and then he flies back on Saturday. And he's been doing that, Sunday. And he's been doing that for nearly 2 years now. So I think that's kind of a testament a little bit to his dedication. With,
Yeah, so you live in San Diego.
for
Yes, I
school.
spend most of my time there in my school dorm.
Right, I see. That's,
Family still lives.
In fact, I have my family in Oakland.
I see. What other concertos are in the future? Are you studying any other concertos or any concertos at all?
We haven't talked about that, but
We've done Wieniawski,
I might study Brook. next.
Brook, and Wieniawski D minor concerto. We've done
Right.
that recently.
My favorite was probably like Mozart concerto. It was a fun piece,
Yeah.
and I've studied like lots of Bach. I'm pretty good at Bach, so yeah.
No, you haven't played the Chaconne yet.
I have.
You have?
Speaking of that, I just played it like this year. I finished it right before I got to the Sarasate.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that someday, hear you play it. It's one of the greatest pieces ever written for any instrument, whether it's an orchestra or solo. It's just a very profound piece,
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful piece. You can never get enough of it, and I'd love to hear a 13-year-old play it.
He plays it well.
Now, did I read that you once studied with Joseph Silverstein?
I did.
Because it's interesting, because you said that when you're playing in an orchestra as a violinist, you don't really stand out. But it's known, I grew up in Boston, when Silverstein was back in the section somewhere,
Yeah.
you could hear him.
Uh-huh.
And then he became the concertmaster of the Boston Symphony
Oh yeah.
for many years. So it's, but it probably wasn't a good idea for you. He couldn't help himself, I thought.
He had that sound and that person.
Yeah, where did you study with him?
In Boston.
You did?
Yeah, and it was privately. I had already gotten my bachelor's of music, and I didn't go right into a master's program, but I went from California to Boston, studied with him for a couple of years while I was there, and I went there for that reason, to
Right.
work with him. Yeah.
Where did you get your degree in Boston?
I didn't actually get a degree in Boston. I was studying privately with
I
him
see.
after I'd already gotten my bachelor's, which I got at the San Francisco Conservatory. And I didn't, I had a long period before I went and got my master's and doctorate, about a 12-year period before I started
Right.
doing that again. But, so I was a late bloomer in that regard.
And when did you start playing piano? Because you accompanied Ken on the piano.
I started playing piano before I started playing violin as
I
a
see.
child. And
Same here.
yeah, he plays piano quite well.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to.
Yeah, you still do.
I stopped it for a year because I had to adjust to my new school, but yeah, I played at a high level.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
He says modestly. And we can, maybe you guys can switch at some point.
We haven't tried that. We should try that sometime.
You can accompany your teacher.
We can do it in the middle of a piece.
That would be good.
We'll work it
Sounds right about the stupid ideas.
out. Exactly.
Well, James and Ken, I want to thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
You have had an extraordinary career, and you hopefully will if you want to. And I wish you both the best of luck, and I appreciate you coming by.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.